artist throwing away work she did not like. How are we going to do a quick illustration really fast with just markers? We start with paper. I'm using Bristol paper for this drawing, and pencil, my Blackwing, and my rubber eraser. And I'm using the Tombow dual brush pen only in black. And for color, I am using the Autism Everblend art markers. I'm going to start off doing the drawing in pencil because I can erase that and I can sort of figure out where things go. I'm worried somebody sees me, so I'm looking over my shoulder, looking scared or worried, and my back is a bit bent. And when I draw something like this, I actually pull the face I'm drawing. You can imagine me sitting by my drawing table going like, whoa. Sometimes I even turn my head a little bit, the same way that I'm drawing. For some reason, I can just draw better when I sort of reenact it. Knees are a little bit bent, and there go all my failures into the dustbin. Okay, and so I'm just doing the dustbin. This is sort of how my dustbin looks. I mean, I'm making it up, really. I'm not going downstairs and check my real dustbin to get a perfect dustbin. You know, sometimes good enough is good enough. I find that very hard to deal with when I'm drawing, but keep that as your mantra. Sometimes good enough is good enough. You want this balance between being moderately pleased with your work, deciding it is enough, but not be too complacent, because then you won't improve, and just at some point being satisfied. Good enough is good enough. So that's the box with all my stuff. I just making it up as I go. I'm going to do a little roll, probably have several rolls of paper in there, and put some muscles on my leg, some boots, and this sort of looks okay, so I think I'm ready to take my Tombow marker, but I'm using the brush point of the marker. I'm only using the brush point because that brush point gives me these nice, thick, thin, interesting lines. Much more interesting than just using the tip. Actually, I love brush markers. So, because I have a pretty detailed underdrawing, I'm just going to follow it. And I don't really have to add anything new because I already know where everything goes. That's the joy of making a preliminary sketch. I'm still pulling the face though. And the hands, I mean, I sketched the hands in really, really roughly. It's really just the placement, because if you put in too much detail, then your lines for the real drawing become really stiff and artificial, so you just need to let it flow. So there's a little muscle there in the neck. I'm letting that stick out because that's what would happen in real life. And then, of course, I'm doing my face. Now, definitely at this point, I will be pulling the face. Eyes open, mouth like a little bit open, like, oh, help. Hope nobody sees me. Ooh. If you don't do it, I can really recommend it. Try it. It works. It makes your drawings better. Wild hair, because I never style my hair. It's worse if I try. Now, I'm a bit stuck with this hand. So the same thing I do with my face, I also do with my hand. I sort of hold my hand the way I would be holding this artwork, whatever it is that I'm throwing in a dustbin. It just makes it clear for me where my thumb goes, where my fingers go. Because I didn't do my drawing that detailed that I had like all the fingers and thumbs and everything worked out. And I'll just keep on drawing the outlines Just let it flow, right? I mean, I've got the lines, I know where things go, and for the rest, not too worried. If you let it flow, you get better, more interesting lines in your drawing. And of course, a little bit of detail. Mind you, you can go the serious way. Go and make a sketch of your own dustbin. But I'm too lazy for that. In fact, one of my best teachers at art college used to say, a good painter is a lazy painter. It's actually more difficult than you think to be lazy in the right way. And with that, I also mean knowing when to stop. It's actually very bad if you keep on too long in a painting. But this is just a drawing. We're doing an outline and then we're going to very quickly fill in with a little bit of color. So I'm drawing a really badly drawn horse here, which is the reason it's in the box to be sneakily thrown away. And once I've finished all the outlines, to add a little bit of shade with the black still here and there. Oh, I need to do the lid of the garbage bin, add a bit more shade. And now we are ready for the color markers. I find the advantage of color markers is that I can add a huge splash of color really quickly. I don't have to mess around with any water or cleaning brushes. I just no mixing, of course, which is both a pro and a con, but I can just take whatever color I like from my box. Of course, the disadvantage is that it's quite a large box. So although it's a handy box with a carry strap and everything, and I thought that would make it easy to take it with me, but I find that I actually never do. I'm wearing black. I wear black quite often. So you'd never want to draw just black. That's really boring. You want to draw it in a lighter color. I'm using a gray here, a blue would work, maybe a brown, but then it gets more into the brown. And if you use a gray or dark blue, your eye just believes that it's black. So you start with like a dark, I would call it a middle value tone. And then you add a darker tone with it for the shade and maybe some black, real black, for the deepest shade. And you get a very convincing black on the paper with enough dimension to give it three-dimensionality and make it less of a big fat black blob, which again is boring. While I'm working with a dark grey, I'm using that same dark grey to put some shades here and there as well. That will look really nice. You can just go over it with your other color and you have ready-made depth in your drawing. So I go around every part that needs a little bit of shade and three-dimensionality. Let's get with the blue. This is based on my own real life garbage bin, which is ugly bright blue. Well, I suppose it's better than grey, especially for drawing. And never feel you have to adhere to reality if you make a fun little drawing like this. If you think green or orange would look better, then do so. It's not your fault that whoever designed these garbage bins chose the wrong color. However, I think for this one blue works fine, so I'm just using the blue. And then I'm going back with a lighter grey to add a little bit more shade. It's a little bit softer than the stronger grey I used earlier on. And the moment you put some shade underneath your feet and whatever's around you, everything suddenly, solidly stands on the ground. You see, if you got these shadows beforehand, it's really easy to fill it in and get like a ready-made three-dimensionality in your drawing. I think this already looks pretty good. We'll just fill in a little bit more colors here and there, some tiny touches of extra depth, just to make it a little bit more interesting. I want to keep everything in sort of the same color family. Don't know if you noticed that, but it's grays, blues, orange, yellows. That's basically it. If you want to make your art look coherent, it really helps if you stick with a smaller color palette. You know, if you buy colors, ready-made boxes, I love those when I travel, then don't buy a big one that has like 100 colors. Now, of course, if you have markers, you have to get a fairly big one. But with paint, don't do it. They're too big, too heavy, and it's much better to mix your colors yourself. And with these final touches, this drawing is done. We have sublimated the shame of all our failures into an actually fun illustration. Yay! So this is how I look when I sneak away some artwork that I don't like. We've all been there. Know that you are valued, and you are amazing, and you can make great art.